What's happening, Hardscapers? This is episode 223 of the How to Hardscape podcast, where we talk about how you can start and grow your hardscaping business. And on today's episode, we have an I Am a Hardscaper mashup. This is where we take previous I Am a Hardscaper interviews, where we sit down with a business owner and do a one-on-one interview, doing a deep dive into their business. And if you notice with those interviews, we have quite specific questions that we ask usually on every single interview. So we take one of those questions and we take the responses of everybody from this year and mash it up all into one single episode. So on today's episode, we mash up the question of leads. Where are your leads coming from today in your business, as well as pre-qualification. Now, these are two very short, typically responses that we get for these. So I decided to mash both of these two questions up into a single episode. So what you'll hear is the name of the business owner, doing their intro, and then their response to each of those questions. Sometimes you'll hear me asking another question on top of that through this, but that is how these I Am a Hardscaper mashup interviews go. And before we get into it, we want to thank our sponsors, Cycle CPA. If you're looking for bookkeeping, accounting, CFO services, reach out to Cycle CPA at cyclecpa.com. Let them know How to Hardscape sent you for $200 off their services there. And Inlight Outdoor Lighting. If you are looking to add another service to your hardscape business, I recommend outdoor lighting to bring those outdoor spaces to life. And you should check out Inlight Outdoor Lighting. That's INLITE Design, Inlight Design on Instagram. Follow them, send them a message, get that conversation started. And without further ado, let's get into today's episode.
Hey, my name is Joel Johnson with Hatton Landscape, and I am a hardscaper. Yeah, so really the process is, when someone will call in, I'll, get back to them. We'll set up a time to come meet on site. Really for everything we're doing, we'll have customers every now and then that will be like, I'll just, send you pictures, or it's a 10 by 10 patio. What is it going to cost? We don't mess with that. We always, do a site visit with the customers. So that's kind of step one, set that site visit. Then from there, depending on where we're in the season, if we need a design, kind of talk through that with them. But really, for us, we show up on site and for our hardscape or outdoor living spaces, just kind of get the wish list from the customer as far as what all they want, and then give them kind of a time frame as far as our design, and then from there, once we get the design, we're really kind of going to rework this process a bit, because I can just share from some failures. There's a lot of times where number one, not charging for designs, and number two, just emailing those to customers with the proposal. There's a lot of times where people don't respond, or you have some of those headaches where people just don't really value that as much. So that's going to be something that this year we're going to kind of push to implement this year, is actually charging for those designs, and tweaking that process a little bit, because that's when kind of a hiccup in our growth is, we might send out 10 designs to people, or 10 designs to 10 customers, and maybe 7 out of 10 will even talk to us after that point. So trying to find a way to vet that, I think, is going to be super, super crucial. Again, looking at kind of our process, I have not had a very in-depth as far as a qualifying process, but I think the biggest thing will be kind of getting what they're looking for over the phone, as far as, what type of project are they looking to have done, and then being able to kind of give them some sort of frame of reference, whether it's, we generally charge this much per day plus material, or just kind of getting them involved. Like you said, for the hardscape stuff, there's kind of some benchmarks of, if you've got a gas fire pit, it's going to add this much, or, sort of those things that we've developed along the way, where you can kind of help set that expectation. But yeah, I mean, that's really the biggest thing, is just seeing what they're looking to have done, and then kind of a rough estimate as far as, hey, generally our patios are going to start around like $10,000. It's going to be kind of that baseline. We can do something real small for less than that, but it's like generally that's going to be kind of your baseline spend there. So yeah, I think just having those a few numbers in your pocket to where this is kind of roughly what these will start at, is a great way to at least get your foot in the door and make sure you're not wasting your time in the process. Because again, there's been many years where we had zero qualification. We were just sending the designs to anybody who asked. Yeah, you can. I'm the candidate of wasting a lot of time doing that. So yeah, I think the more you can qualify with making your customer still feel comfortable, it's worth it. Save you a lot of time.
I am Alex Altschuler, the owner of Seal It Group. We specialize in sealing and restoration and landscape construction. I am a hardscaper. Right now, it's definitely quite a mix. I would say the majority of the leads are coming from the online presence. So Homestars would be a big one still. Not as good as it was, to be honest, a few years ago, because I think ever since COVID, with the amount of saturation in the market, so many companies have opened up during COVID. Homestars has become obviously as well saturated. So with different contractors, so the leads aren't as good, but they're still relatively consistent, right? So we're able to get them from there. Instagram's been huge. Being able to work with other contractors that might want to sub you out some work, or maybe they're too busy, so they can refer you a client. So that's been a big one as well. Paid ads as well on Instagram has been great. Not always the best leads, but that's where pre-qualification comes in, right? So that's been big as well. And I mean, word of mouth is getting a lot better now as well, because now that we're, getting more and more established every year, we're finding that word of mouth is doing well as well now. We're able to get, those are the most qualified leads, obviously, because there's no tire kicking or haggling for price, because they've seen your work, it's verifiable, and the trust is there from the beginning. So that's been getting better and better every year. But yeah, so it's basically like a mix. It's a good mix of different platforms, but I would say the top ones would be Homestars, Instagram, and word of mouth, as well as just being noticed. We put signs up when we're doing a project as well. So that's actually another good one, is when we're doing, say, an install, we put up our sign, and we're making it known that we're in the neighborhood. And those I find are very good leads, because they're much more qualified and higher quality leads. Because neighbors trust neighbors. So obviously, I think that avenue is one of the best ones. So putting up signs is key. You get dog walkers and neighbors noticing you, and branding all your trucks. So that's a big one. Being noticed, obviously, in neighborhoods. So yeah, those would be probably the top platforms. Yeah. So as soon as they contact us, basically we start that pre-qualification process. So we're what we've done recently is we've implemented like a template where it's basically like a questionnaire that I developed, where it basically asks the client for all their project details. First of all, it thanks them for reaching out and for asking for an estimate, and that we're excited for the possibility to work with them and provide them with a quote. And then it gets into the specifics of their job, and it requests them to provide more details on their job. What kind of job is it? What's the size of the job? What's the scope of work? How did they hear about us? Pictures of the job, so we can really get a visual understanding of their job. What's their budget like? So we created that template. We send it out to them by email, and they reply with all that information, and then we're able to analyze all of that and look at it and determine whether or not it's a job that will fit our model and our criteria, right? So we have job minimums, obviously. We have specific types of jobs that we prefer doing. There's got to be access for machinery. It's got to be a job that's obviously going to fit our model, like I said. So that's kind of how we work that process. We found it very effective to be able to make sure that you're you're only going out to estimate the most qualified leads, and therefore not wasting your precious time. You only have so many hours in a season. You have to meet those targets. So, time is money. You got to make sure that you're going out to the most qualified leads, and that's where this pre-qualification process comes in.
Nice. And we talked about this just before we started the interview, but what does your business look like right now in terms of crews and what type of work they are doing, those different crews?
We have the two divisions. We have the landscape construction and the design, or the ceiling and restoration. So those are our two main divisions, two main crews. So crew number one, ceiling and restoration, they're doing everything from restoring old pavers, so restoring, say, 25-year-old pavers that have weeds, and making them look brand new. So power washing all the weeds, the dirt, the moss out of the joints, applying brand new polymeric sand, tamping it down, watering, activating the sand, and then applying a sealer onto the stone. So making it look brand new. Natural stone sealing as well, concrete sealing. So everything to do with exterior sealing and restoration of exterior hardscape surfaces. And then the landscape construction division, we do kind of mid-sized jobs where we do full backyards, front entrance jobs, patios, walkways, porch overlays, lighting. So everything sort of but pools is what we kind of specialize in. So retaining walls, features, that's kind of our specializations.
Hey, my name is Alex Castelline. I am the owner-operator of Casty Landscape Group. We specialize in luxury living in the outdoors, and I am a father and owner of a lasagna company as well. And I am at first a hardscaper. It's all referrals.
Yeah.
We haven't advertised in 5 years, and we've been very busy. Since then, if we wanted to grow to multiple crews, I'm sure we would have to start advertising again. But, we've been one crew doing high-end jobs and just sticking to that. I didn't want the business to become kind of unmanageable or run in like a corporate way. We're a small team. We like to have fun. And, we're prideful of the work that we do. And people kind of see that energy and the passion you have for your work. And when people see that in someone doing a trade, I think it's like kind of infectious, and those people go, man, you got to hire this guy. Like, him and his team, look at the stuff they do. Look at our yard. We're creating spaces that people want to entertain in, and people go, holy shit, look at this yard. How do we get this? Who did this? We want this in our backyard. And it just kind of snowballs from there. So we just keep riding referrals and leads that come in basically organically that way. Yeah. So, I mean, it's every call is a little bit different. So you have to try to kind of read their questions, and based on their questions, you'll know kind of at what stage they're at. So if someone starts dropping stone supplier names and all these other things, then they've been doing some research, so you don't have to educate them as much, right? Or and then if they've done the research and they've stumbled upon what is the reason for that? So you can do some background checks with just, listening to what they're saying without, me having to really say much to them.
My name is Giovanni, better known as Johnny Giovanni. I'm the designer and owner of Stoneworthy, and I'm a hardscaper. Yeah, so when somebody calls our number, one of two people will pick up. Either the office manager or I will pick up the phone. Both of our phones ring, so I guess whoever, has the ability to answer the phone call will answer that phone call. But after that, so obviously things change over the years. Before in the past, we would schedule, a time for me to kind of go out there and look at the overall project. But, in today's day, now that we've been fortunate enough to get quite a few calls a day, I can't be scheduling, estimate after estimate. So what we do now is we'll schedule a time where both parties can attend the phone call, and we can kind of go over the scope of work and what needs to be done. So then that way I can kind of see if this is going to be a good fit for both parties.
Gotcha. And then from scheduling that initial consultation, deciding can we kind of expand on how do you, what kind of questions are you asking them to see if it would be a good fit for both parties? And like, maybe what are some red flags that might show up to decide, you know what, this probably isn't the client that I want to be booking a consultation with? What kind of things kind of come up in that conversation that dissuade you from setting up that initial consultation?
Yeah, I mean, so I'll ask them like, like, hey, how's it going? Like, pretty much like, what are you looking for? Do you know what kind of materials? Is there a design? And, there's nothing wrong with, a very small job or a big job, we'll take them. To me, it doesn't matter about the size, but I just want to make sure that whatever we do, we're doing it in a creative sense and, making sure our name stands behind it. So the things I stay away from is cookie cutter stuff. Like, hey, I want like a 16 by 18 patio. And I'm just like, well, do you know what? And they're like, hey, I want like Holland or Brussels. And I'm just like, maybe if we can create like a outdoor living space, maybe with like some type of fire feature, seat wall, I can definitely assist you with that. And if they're just like dead set on, no, I just want a space where I can put a dining room table and chairs, I'm just like, well, unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be a good fit, but I definitely have a few colleagues here and I definitely will recommend them. But I just, like I said, I just want to be known as a company and as an individual who just like has like their own staple. Like when you see the job, you're like, yep, Stoneworthy did it.
You work hard to build a successful business, and because of this, it is important to work with companies that you can trust, rely on, and whose missions are to give you the highest quality product and customer support. Low voltage outdoor lighting is one of the easiest ways for you to grow your business and increase revenue. Using lighting can make you more profit, add that wow factor, and make your business stand out. Whether you are already using outdoor lighting in your hardscape projects or not, it's time you check out InLight Outdoor Lighting. As a professional hardscaper, we know that you need efficient installs, less callbacks, and premium products to have a successful and growing business. InLight's got you covered. They've created some of the most premium and unique lighting on the market to make your project stand out and wow your clients with their unmatched light quality. It gets better. InLight has an unbeatable customer support team, provides many educational resources like online and in-person training, installation videos, and so much more. They care about your business growth and will be with you every step of the way. For more information on how InLight can help you grow your business, check them out on Instagram at InLight Design. That's at INLITE Design on Instagram. DM them to find out how to put more money in your pocket this season. Now back to the podcast.
Hi, I'm Scott Elam. I am the owner operator of Infinity Lawn and Landscaping, and we specialize in outdoor living spaces and landscape design. I am a hardscaper. So yeah, we have, when it comes into the office, Gina's in our office. She's our office administrator. She takes all the calls and she goes through a checklist with them. We refer them to our website. There's a budgeting section of the website for our hardscape projects and some other projects, just so people can get an idea of where they're at. Because there's a lot of them where they want the world and they got a budget that's 10 grand and they want 80 grand worth of work. And you just got to vet those people a little bit. So it comes in, she takes the basic information, gets plat of surveys, gets, anything we need for permitting stuff. And the biggest thing is if they can't provide a plat of survey, we know they're not very serious with the project. And like, that's the first question we have is, do you have your plat of survey? Can you get it to us? And they're like, we want to talk to somebody and see what it is. And they're like, okay, you're not really serious about a job. But yeah, there's a list of questions we have that we go through it. And then once it comes into her, we put it into our CRM, and then one of the salespeople pick it up. And it depends on, I normally take all the hardscape heavy projects. And we have a couple other salespeople that would take some smaller stuff and some landscape projects. But So we try to put that in the system. And like I would contact them, I would ask them a couple more questions and then set up an appointment.
A couple of questions that came up in my head from that, and I'm just taking notes here. When do you have a separate crew that will do those smaller projects and a separate crew that will always do those bigger projects? And then do they bleed over into one another at any point in time during the season?
So we have we have the way our setup, we have an excavation and base crew that will come in and dig, put all the drainage in, all the compact the soil, put the base, the filter fabrics, or geofabric, whatever we need to put in. They'll do that, and they'll get the stone base layer about to where the bedding layer needs to go in. And like if gas lines are in or electric needs to go in, they'll put all that in. And then the hardscape crew comes in and installs all the hardscapes. Then we have a landscape crew that will come in and do all the landscape around it. And if there's a small like retaining wall or a little, pad that they need to put in, those guys can do that. But I try to have the one crew that just does all our hardscapes. And there's 4 guys on that crew. And they will, I keep them all together because I know their quality. They know how we need to install things. We have checklists for, processes on how to install, retaining walls, fire pits, grill island, they know what they're doing. And I've tried to build it up like an assembly line. So the excavation crew comes in, then the hardscape crew comes in, then the landscape crew comes in. And so those guys are equipped, their trailers are set up with the tools they need. So you're not buying multiple tools. You're not, these guys are taking this from this crew and they need, lasers for this crew. They're all set up to do what they do. They know what they're doing every day and they're doing the same thing. So you specialize that crew into what they're good at.
Have you found that works really well? Has there ever been any headaches in that process, or when you first implemented that separate crews, that there was a headache there?
There's some because like your excavation crew can go faster depending on the scope of the job. So there might be a job where I tell the customer, you might be sitting for a week or 2 with that base ready before this crew gets there. And the nice thing about my excavation crew is I can send them back to the hardscape crew to help out a little bit. If it's, just laying the patio or moving brick or, just cleaning up. So they're multi-purpose in a way. The excavation crew also is very good with the polymeric sand and the concrete edging and all that stuff. So the hardscape crew might finish, and I'll send that excavation crew, like if they've excavated the next patio, as they flip flop, the other guys, the crew of 2 will come in with the excavation. They'll do the polymeric sand or the edging restraints on the existing patio. So there's some scheduling stuff with that, but it seemed to work out the best.
Gotcha. And then hiring an office person, like you mentioned Gina there. What made you want to hire somebody like that to take over the calls and whatever administrative tasks there are? Was there a certain catalyst that caused you to reach out and make this a priority, or what was the reasoning behind that? At what point did you do that?
It was one of those things where I was tired of doing everything. And when you're working 16 hours a day and you're missing calls and you're missing just paperwork, like the business side of things, like you still got to pay the bills. You still got to answer the phones and, just get the organization done. And that was taking up so much of my time as we grew to where, you can only handle so much at a time. And I had another lady, Patty, and she worked for about 4 years, and we built it to a certain point. And then she retired, and actually her friend was Gina, and Gina came in and just took it to another level. But it's just having someone in the office that can respond instantly, like when I'm at a job and helping or running around and people have questions or the phone's ringing, she's here to, just seeing the back end of the business. And it's hard to find someone to trust with that because it's your financials in some ways, it's your bills, it's your current new customers, it's responding to emails and phone calls and just someone to handle that. But it's a big move you have to make when you get to a certain point where it takes up hours of your day, and you're going, okay, I'm better. My efforts are better off somewhere else. Than, not saying like not answering the phone is not important, but it's a different, it's nice to have somebody that you can count on to take those phone calls, to take that other end of the business that needs to be done. And honestly, she's better at it than I am. I'm not the best at that part of the business. Like the accounting part, I'm fine with. The running it, I'm fine with. But the just customer service end, my projects, or my brain works at, this is my project. This is what I'm working on. I'm gonna do the best at this job. And I'll be honest, some people will call and be like, "What's your deal? I want to use you guys for a job, and I can, I could barely hear from. I barely hear from you." And it would get to that point where I'm like, "I'm sorry, but the current customer, the current project is my most important thing. I'm not worried about the next one, which everyone tells me you should be, but I would rather be 100% on what I'm doing than worrying about what could be coming in the future. It's like, this is a guarantee. This is my name on it. This is my project, and it's going to be done perfectly. In the next one, when I hit that next job, you're the same way. Your job is going to be done 100%. It's going to be done perfectly, and it's going to be done right." And so that's why I decided, hey, I need to have someone else that's better at this to come in and take on this side of the business. It's just growing pain. You grow to a certain size and you have to make those moves.
My name's Jake. I'm the owner operator of JFS Property Care, and I am a hardscaper. Yeah. We've made a pretty good name for ourselves in our neighborhood, local areas around town. I'm part of all the Facebook pages that are around, our local towns around here. So I constantly am posting on there, as much as they'll let me post anyways, because some of them don't allow business posts. But as much as they'll let me put on there, I put my posts out with pictures of jobs that we've done. And, that video I just posted up the other day, so that's got, I think, 3,000 views on it now. So that's working out pretty well. I've gotten some leads from that. And just word of mouth, really. This year, I ended up doing the home show that was around here. So that's the first time I've done a home show. It's worked out really well. I've gotten 3 jobs from that show, and one of them is actually a very large project this year. So that worked out really well. I was a little nervous about it, but it worked out really well. So that was definitely a big help for us this year too, to get our schedule kind of going.
Interesting. Yeah, I've been curious about home shows, especially with everything opened back up now, finally, and people wanting to get to those home shows, how those would kind of convert. Any tips on, what you've learned after your first home show?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely bring a chair, because when it's slow, it's definitely slow. I didn't have any chairs or anything, and we had our excavator in the booth, so I had a pillow that we put on the track just because I didn't have any room for a seat. But when it is good, though, it's nice to have at least 2 other people there, just because when it is flowing, I can get caught up in talking to somebody for 15 minutes and lose out on 10 other people that walked by that wanted to talk to me, because a lot of those attention spans nowadays are so thin, if they're like, "Oh, no, this guy's too busy, we'll go somewhere else." So it's nice to be able to have a couple other people there who can talk to everybody, and at least if they're not skilled in the industry, they can talk to somebody and kind of understand what they want, and then they can focus them over to me afterwards, or somebody else in the crew who knows how to do it, and can give them some insight on that. So yeah, so pretty much somebody will call in, and they'll, I'll ask them a couple of questions about what they're looking to do. And, most of the time, like, "Oh, we want to do a patio in the backyard, off our deck, this and that, a couple steps, whatever." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I always ask somebody, obviously where they are in location, because that matters. But I ask them if this is their first time calling somebody, because a lot of the times you'll get those clients who have no idea what things cost. And not that I like to bid against anybody else, but it's nice when there's somebody else who's already bid the job, because most of the time they're going to be in the same ballpark, give or take, I hope, around what I'm going to be. So at least they're not sticker shock when I come out and say it's going to be X amount. They're not like, "Whoa, holy smokes." So I try and see if they've had somebody come out and quote it, or they're just starting. And even if they're just starting, it's fine. And usually I'll try and ask and say, "Do you guys have any kind of budget you're working with, just to kind of see what they're looking for. I'll try and get a size of the patio just so I can give them a rough idea of what they're looking at, just so I don't waste my time driving out a half an hour to go look at it, and they don't waste their time either. Because I've done that when I first started doing it. Anybody who called, I was like, yeah, I'll be right there, no problem. Because I was so eager to get the job, and then you realize you're just wasting so much time, and time is valuable. I mean, it wasn't as valuable back then to me. I mean, it was, I just didn't know it. So I try and really justify people on the phone to, really work with us. And if it's somebody that I kind of think is going to be either a pain in the butt to work with, or they're a really big stickler for something, I'm like, yeah, we may not be a good fit.
Yeah.
I'm Mark Arsenault. I'm the owner of Green Monster Landscapes in Dover, New Hampshire, specializing in hardscape and stonework, and I am a hardscaper. You know what? I mean, I don't know that I've seen a ton of other leads yet from Instagram. I know everyone seems to say this, but it really does feel like most of our stuff is word of mouth. Because I find like even when I get like a website inquiry, it's sort of like then I dig a little deeper and they like, well, we talked to so and so, or we saw a project you did here or there, and but yeah, I mean, we're trying to grow the Instagram and trying to get more projects from there. So it's kind of as I mean, Instagram's a big time suck, but hopefully soon it's gonna, it'll pay dividends eventually, I suppose.
Right. Yeah. And so getting into that, when a client or potential client does contact you, what does that look like? What does that conversation look like in terms of pre-qualifying to make sure that they are or could be a good fit for Green Monster?
Yeah, I mean, I'm typically trying to find out some specifics about the kind of work that they want done. What kind of products they might be interested in, what they've already looked at, like if they've been to a supplier, have they checked anything out, have they looked at things online, and just sort of get a feel for like how deep their research has been already is sometimes a decent indicator of how serious they are. And one of the things I've been doing a lot more of lately too is trying to get like people to send me some pictures and send me some rough dimensions. We sort of have this technology in our pocket now, instead of running out like we used to do like 10, 15 years ago. It's like, oh, I got to go run and look at this project. And you get there and it's like, oh my goodness, this was a waste of time. And sort of being like in a rural area, I mean, I could go be looking at a job that's 30, 40 minutes from home. So yeah, it's nice to sort of like put your eyes on that, like through a text message, a picture, or an email. Put your eyes on it before you kind of make that trip out there and realize it's easier to tell right away, like, well, this probably is not for me, or and the way we are nowadays, it's one of the first questions is also like, what's your time frame? Because like, let's figure that out first, because if it's like 30 days or even 60 days, but there's not much sense in going much further here if you're really married to that time. 15 years ago, it was like, oh, I got to go run and look at this project. And you get there and it's like, oh my goodness, this was a waste of time. And sort of being like in a rural area, I mean, I could go be looking at a job that's 30, 40 minutes from home. So yeah, it's nice to sort of like put your eyes on that, like through a text message, a picture, or an email. Put your eyes on it before you kind of make that trip out there and realize it's easier to tell right away, like, well, this probably is not for me, or and the way we are nowadays, it's one of the first questions is also like, what's your time frame? Because like, let's figure that out first, because if it's like 30 days or even 60 days, but there's not much sense in going much further here if you're really married to that time.
I just want to take a break from today's episode to talk about our sponsor, Cycle CPA. You may have a CRM or project management software in place, but what data are you using to ensure your estimating is accurate? Having a proper accounting setup and accurate bookkeeping done is key to understanding overhead expenses and other costs that must be recouped in your estimates. Cycle CPA is a remote bookkeeping and CFO firm that helps to connect the dots from the financial reports to the hardscape and landscape data needed in order to reach high profits. They provide landscape and hardscape industry benchmarking, job costing financials by service line, advisory meetings, and much more. Cycle CPA's team of accountants are specialized within the hardscape and landscape industry, and you can visit them at cyclecpa.com, and for $200 off, mention the How to Hardscape podcast. Now back to our episode.
My name is Stephen Lisk. My company is Lisk Landscape Innovations. We specialize in stormwater management, and I am a hardscaper. I think they find us on like Facebook forums and elsewhere, and then they start to follow us. And then they start following us, 3 to 6 months, and they eventually reach out or they eventually want to purchase. It's because, 5 years ago, I would say it was 70% online search, 30% social media, and then it became 50-50. But I think social media is starting to kind of overtake that, right? Not that people are not searching online, but I think that so many people are more comfortable with finding contractors on Instagram and Facebook, and it's just becoming the future, and you still got to invest in your website a little bit, because I don't think your social media page has enough on there sometimes. And I think that, you can really build your website out for the most part and really educate your clientele on the website. So it's still always good to have that website storefront. But if they want to continue to watch you day in and day out, social media, I mean, people get up in the morning, right? Drink their coffee and they open their browser, and when you're feeding that information to them on a nonstop basis, I think you're giving them that trust factor that, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. So most people come to us, I don't have to sell them. They kind of see what we do and they almost know what they want. So that's a good part about social media, that, again, you had to bring a portfolio book out to a clientele 20 years ago because they don't know you from anyone else.
With that, do you find there's a percentage of certain types of leads coming better from different sources? For example, like Instagram, you find that you're getting better leads than you are from your website directly or from other avenues? Do you find that there's a higher quality of leads coming from different avenues?
I think it's a balance all around. I don't think I hear guys now, they're getting leads on TikTok. I'm not heavily into TikTok. It's just so much social media. I mean, I don't want to be, and that's the other part. Like, I don't want to be living on social media constantly. Which, right now I do a lot of the posting, but I also have somebody that they help assist with the videos, but it's a lot of work. Consistently. And I feel like you have to do a little bit of yourself just because it's more personal and there's the only person that knows it in your business, or, somebody that works in the business. So yeah, I think that, the leads through it, like, I think they're, I think 5 years from now, that might very well change. I would tell you it might be all of social media, and websites might be somewhat obsolete.
Hey, I'm Shane Herbert. I'm the owner of Royal Stone and Masonry, and I am a hardscaper. I will go on every single estimate.
Oh, yeah?
I don't care if they want a walkway, they want a stoop. I don't care. I'll go on every single estimate, because every single estimate, even if they want some little repair, a little small, that job in the future will turn into a bigger job.
Right.
And that bigger job will turn into a referral. So I will not turn anyone down. So there's people out there who try and qualify their clients before they even go out on the estimate. I don't, because I like to just, okay, what are you looking for? Swimming pool. Okay, that's great. I'll book the time, go to the estimate. And then I get to see the person and they get to see me. And I like that in person, one-on-one, that personal experience. They get to know me. They get to know the passionate behind me and see what our company can deliver. And that's what I love. I will never turn anyone down.
Interesting. So I want to dive into that a bit. How has that gone for you in terms of the percentage of clients that you get there and you realize like right away it's not a project for you versus the percentage of projects where it's like, yeah, that could be a Royal Stone client. Let's prepare a quote for them in that.
So don't get me wrong. There is estimates what I do go on, and if I don't want the job and I feel like the job is too big for me or it's not the right job for Royal Stone, I will outprice myself on the job.
Gotcha.
So they'll be like, this guy's insane. Or if I'm, the customer's nice, because, not all customers, understand how hard we work and how many times, understand that. So they just think, well, we're greedy, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, I'll just be polite and say, look, my company's, we haven't got the time to do this. It's going to cost you a lot more than you expect. Maybe there's a company out there for you. What would fit your desire for this patio? And then, if it's early on in the season, like we all get them little butterflies, like, oh, the phone's not ringing, it's slow, it's crazy. And I'm sure like a lot of people experienced that this year, because I did it first and I was thinking like, what's going on? But then the phone does start ringing. But I will maybe lower my price down a little bit, because I still got, I no matter what, on days I'm not working or, the overhead, the business is, is still eating away. Even today, we're not working, it's still eating away. So I want to make sure I've always got work booked out, no matter what, as long as it pays the bills. That's all that matters.
Yeah. I wonder if like where your leads are coming from today, that they kind of recognize that almost like your clients are pre-qualifying themselves before they reach out to you. Like you won't get somebody calling out to you to do, let's say, like a drainage job if they look at your Instagram and they see that you're doing these beautiful inlays and pool patios and things like that, right?
Yeah. So I feel like Google. I have a Google page. I got 5-star reviews, and I have all my work on the Google page. So I feel like that already qualifies a lot of customers and themselves, because they'll see the pictures and they'll be like, oh my God, this guy, he looks expensive. So that's kind of image what I am drawing. But don't get me wrong, there is clients out there who don't know. So, but I feel like I've already got that presence on my Google page. I got the presence on Instagram. So that's the image I'm trying to put out there. That's the image through all the reviews, because I always make sure that all my clients, they leave me a review, and I feel like them reviews is the best thing for any type of hardscaper, any type of business. If they can get reviews on Google, I feel their company can go a long way. I really do.
So did you make a push early on to get those Google reviews, or have you always kind of done that?
I've always kind of done that, because that's, it's like, when something goes wrong in the house, the first thing you do, you type it on Google.
Yeah.
I need a plumber, type it on Google.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's the first thing what everybody goes to in this generation. We go straight on Google, we look for, and then that's, I don't think it's Home Advisor used to be, Angie's List, all them. They used to be the go-to, but the first thing now is so easy and simple. Go straight on Google, and that's the way to go forward.
What's going on, guys? My name is James Reed. I'm here from affordablepatio.com, which is our installation business, Patio SEO, which is our marketing company. And the best part is, guys, I'm a hardscaper. So 38% of our work is referral and word of mouth. Then everything's pretty equal. Google, Facebook, yard signs are really great. We do a lot of yard signs, but call to action, not branding yard signs. Branding yard signs will just say affordablepatio.com. Call to action is a 20 by 20 patio for X amount of money. they're not as qualified, but the signs only cost us $5-6. So like, your ROI is better on that. But obviously the word of mouth the best, but everything's pretty equal. But going back, this is what a lot of guys, when I talk to them about marketing, really gives them the information is I don't really care how much I spend on the marketing and the cost to get the acquisition of the customer. And the reason is I just told you 38% of our work is referral or repeat. So all those 38% at first was from an advertisement. So I'm on a call with someone last night and I'm like, they're like, oh, what's like your acquisition cost? I'm like, I don't know. I think Facebook's like $400. It's costing us for that customer to do the work. So whatever, if we made $2,000 profit, it cost us, $400 out of the profit to get the client. But if that person refers us and we get a job, that 400 turns into 200. If that person refers us, now it turns into 100. And the people, when I tell them that, they're like blown away. We're in an infinite game. If you're not stopping, it doesn't really matter what your acquisition cost is currently if all your work is repeat and referrals.
Right.
So that's the way I look at it. A lot of my stuff is just not made up myself, but like what I believe. And I'm okay with spending that $600 or $700 on an acquisition cost because in 10 years, I don't know, that customer might have only cost me $10. And that referral cost me $0. So like, what is it better? That's why when we're doing 200-300 patios a season, people are blown away by that, is because it's 38% referral and repeat.
And then how do you foster those referrals from existing clients? Do you have anything that you do to kind of nudge them for referrals or anything like that?
We don't. We have a little different sales techniques. Like if people are interested in the patio, great. We don't like really do follow-ups. Like we'll do a follow-up. Like, hey, if you need anything, just let us know. We're here to help. Nothing else. And the reason is we treat this how I would want to be. If I wanted to move forward with you, like I want to move forward with you. I don't need you to hound me. When people hound me, I don't want to work with them, even if they were the cheapest, even if they were the best. I just feel like, you're too pushy. So that's how we are. What we do is, and this is a great tip for anyone, people always ask, hey, can you do a little better on the price? Or like, hey, is there a little bit of a discount? We made up something called a 50-50-50. $50 off if you become a Facebook friend or a social media friend. $50 off if you leave a Google review. $50 off if you tag your job and post us. The reason is now we're always fresh in their mind because we're always doing stories and we're posting content. And then they'll easily refer us. And from your experience, how many times have you been on a job that someone did a walkway many years ago and they say, I don't even remember who did that job. So we're always fresh. And then I'm okay to give them that $150 off because like that cost is minuscule. Now I have the review. Now I have always being followed. Plus one of their friends saw that we did their job. Mrs. Jones isn't posting every day. So it kind of lives on their page for a little bit longer than most.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast episode. Check out each of these individual interviews by going back in our catalog this year to find which one you want to listen to for a longer period of time and listen to their I Am a Hardscaper interview. And once again, this is a podcast and we do ask for ratings and reviews wherever you're listening to right now, whether it's Apple, Spotify, or whatever it might be. Apple allows you to leave a rating as well as a written review, which we would really appreciate. And Spotify allows you to just leave a rating, a couple of quick clicks, and you can leave us a 5-star rating there. And I've been going through our past written reviews on previous episodes, and I'll continue this here, but we are running low. So Apple Podcast listeners, if you're listening, please leave us a rating and review. This one is titled Great Podcast from Swagmaster Matt. Love the info. Another one here is a must for hardscapers from Visionary Dreamer 2020. Love the topics that this podcast covers, from installation tools, business advice, sales, and so much more. Every hardscaper, landscaper should be subscribed and listening to this podcast. And another one here from a familiar face, Amin Landscape. Value every show. Mike brings value every episode. And one more to wrap things out here. Great podcast from the Great Reviewist. Love the content that's covered in this podcast. Broad range of information based on the hardscaping industry as well as the business building essentials. And that wraps it up for our written reviews that we've got to go through. So Apple Podcast listeners, really counting on you to leave a rating in review this week. And before we wrap things up, we want to say thank you to our sponsors, Cycle CPA. If you're looking for bookkeeping, accounting, CFO services, reach out to Cycle CPA at cyclecpa.com. Let them know How to Hardscape sent you for $200 off their services there. And as well as Inlight Outdoor Lighting. If you're looking to add a service to your business, outdoor lighting can really bring your outdoor living spaces to life. So reach out to Inlight Design, INLITE Design on Instagram. Get that conversation started and follow them there for more inspiration from their beautiful page that they have showcasing their products. And we look forward to meeting with you next week on the How to Hardscape podcast.